No pressure on any of
No
us.
editing.
I was going to say there's no
Just
edits.
live on the fly. I've got the soundboard here.
There's no
all
getting rid
across
of the
the
gaps in our speaking
And
like a sound caster.
beware of your face, right? If I say something, Andrew, that you're like,
that's right.
What are you talking about, Jen?
Just smile. Yeah.
To be
good.
conscious of your face.
I'll try.
All right. So while we're waiting for people to hop in, giving them a chance, because I know everyone, I always say this anytime anyone goes live, it's like NASCAR. You don't know when the wreck is going to happen. Will a fire start behind Kevin? Will Andrew fall over? That's part of the enjoyment of seeing what's going to happen.
Hopefully not.
But
that's happened.
Just for a quick appetizer before the actual show begins, this will not be in the actual broadcast. This is just for those of you who are watching live. Congratulations. Is a chart that I don't show very often. So this is showing since December 1st of 2019 up to yesterday, broken out by paid and unpaid social traffic, organic traffic, and paid search traffic. And this is aggregated from roughly 60 different home building companies, most of whom work with us, a couple who do not, who also share the data. But look at this, guys. Look at the decline. Really, over here is the easiest way to see it. So this is previous social, Facebook and Instagram compared to where we are now. It's like 80% decline.
And that sounds depressing, but it's intentional.
It is intentional, right?
Yeah.
One of the things, though, that people aren't expecting is when they start pushing the traffic back, prices have gone up 50, 70, one builder, 200, over 200 grand over the last year. Yeah. So bringing the traffic back doesn't mean that your conversion rates aren't going to look the same.
Yep. And we're used to this pricing changes, but a lot of people just entering the market, they see the headlines, but until you actually go and look at what you can afford, you're like, oh, this is a little different. So we'll see conversion rates will be quite different.
Yep.
Just going backwards.
Exactly.
In time.
Every week I have more and more people say, people are, one, there's an objection to the price increase, or it's just a condition now that we can't overcome, right? They've just been priced out from when they first expressed interest with us. So that's happening more and more as of late.
Exactly. So the trend line there was down and to the right on social traffic, both paid and organic. So both were in there. And then when I look at this at the organic level, this again, I think is going to catch people by surprise because really ever since Mother's Day, it's continued to decline rather, it's leveled off a little bit, but we are now well below last year at this time. And it's probably going to continue to go down all the way through the end of the year. And I've been saying for the last couple of months on our builder partner calls, I would not be surprised if this ends up getting below 2018 levels even. And then quickly, and then we'll get on to the show. Search traffic is interesting as well. So it's throttling down. Why? Because again, we're in this weird place of we don't need a lot of traffic. We only need it where we need it. So the overall efficiency of people's ad spend looks different because they're really only focusing on the problem children, the one or two homes that aren't selling or the one or two communities that are struggling. And so the volume is down as that happens. It's just an interesting way to look at how things are split up because most of the time I'm only sharing that aggregate data piece. All right. That was all just pre-show conversation. Now let's get into... we have done live episodes before. We've recorded live at every online summit, but this is the first live streamed episode. All right, here we go. And we do dance.
No one gets to see the behind the scenes video. Usually
we're goofy.
Welcome to Market Proof Marketing, the podcast from the marketing minds at doconvert.com, where we talk about the current state of all things digital and how they impact home builders and developers around the globe. We're not here to sell you. We're here to help you and to try and elevate the conversation. I'm Kevin Oakley, and with me today, as always, is the ad doctor, Andrew Peak.
We are here, episode 156 with Jen Barkan.
Woohoo!
So excited.
Jen, I got so many little comments and direct tweets from people saying Jen is incredibly intelligent. I know for sure Sean Carpenter was one of those by name. He was like, she needs to be on more often. So
That is
giving
so
the people
nice.
what they want.
Thank you, Sean Carpenter.
There were more, but I remember his name.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm excited. I get to be on the first.
I
It was
know.
like making history on the first
name,
live
Market Proof
stream.
Live or something. Just who knows?
Yeah.
Do this every week.
So excited.
Yeah. Well, we got an action-packed, jam-packed episode here, so let's hop right into story time. That's the show about nothing, The Office. I still think we should have used the Seinfeld episode.
We could have both. We could switch. I think both are great.
Jen, you want to kick us off?
Yes. So actually 2 weeks ago, my son started a job at Foot Locker. Okay.
Nice.
Sales associate. He's 17 years old, sales associate, part-time. And we went to visit him to like see him in action. And, my husband and I both in sales, right? Or we're just kind of over here observing. And I have never been so proud of this kid. He is overcoming objections. He's upselling. Somebody comes over and says, hey, I want to see this shoe on this size or whatever. And he goes and he comes back and he goes, sir, we don't have it in that particular colorway and that size, but I went ahead and brought out one that's similar that we have in your size. Do you want to check it out? And then he opens up the box and he says to the customer, are you okay with me removing the shoe and getting it to you, or would you like to do that? And so as he's doing these things, of course, my mind is like going ding, ding, ding. One, he is providing such a great customer experience tailored to what that customer wants. He's also figuring out, he's not just taking no for an answer like, oh, I don't have this. Now he's, providing another solution, right, for this person. And then the girlfriend of the customer walks up and says, hey, those are going to get way dirty. Like that particular shoe is going to get way dirty. Here comes Sam. Oh, that's not a problem. We've got the protected shoe spray to take care of that for you. Sells them on the shoe spray. So in the 2 weeks that he's been there part-time, literally, he's like the top salesperson.
Nice.
And so
does he convert?
He converts.
Okay. But listen, as I'm like watching him, I'm just like beaming, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But of course, I'm thinking about online sales and what we do and dealing with customers and the things that we're getting. And, we're starting to hear more of a shift of, you know what, I think I might wait right now, or I'm not quite ready to go out for an appointment yet. I don't know about pricing right now. Like, we're starting to hear some of those objections, and we haven't had to overcome objections in a while. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, we got to get back, we've got to work on perfecting our dialogues around this. We got to make sure we're prepared. It was taking me back to in the day when I was an online sales specialist, and man, we had to really work hard in some cases to get those appointments. And so, I just thought it just was so cool. I just wanted to tell you guys about that story, because even this kid at 17 is using dialogues and sales techniques, in a part-time position, and how it
wasn't just that he's thinking fast on his feet. He was prepared for predictable objections and questions that were to come. And to your point, we haven't had to answer a lot of unpredictable questions lately.
Right. Yeah. And here's the other thing. As I was talking to my husband about this, and I was like, did you coach him? Did you give him some sales coaching skills before he,
No.
And Andrew was like, no, I think he's just And so when I asked Sam about it when he got home, he goes, I just talk to people how I would want to be talked to, and like, just, don't like stress about it. Like, I know, like, that's how I would want to be sold, right? Or treated. And so I was like, man, you're a genius. Do you want to like come work with
Do you want to
me?
make
And
some more money? I could help you out. Is he into, I know your husband, he's a sneakerhead, right? Is that the right term? Like, he's into
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, is he also, or like sneakerhead light? Like,
No,
just
he's definitely, absorbed that by osmosis, like just being
gotcha.
around my husband. And in fact, my husband Andrew said, man, he was way better than me when I was his age. Cause I guess Andrew worked at Champs or, similar situation. And he goes, man, he's 10 times better than I was at that
Nice.
age. So,
Nice. I was
yeah,
gonna say,
And
it
to
helps
be able to
too.
buy shoes at Champs, can I just say that? I mean, famous footwear or Payless, and you got like two choices
There you
when
go.
I
Yeah.
was a kid.
Champs.
exactly.
I was gonna say, if you like what you're selling, you enjoy it, you love it. I feel like that definitely makes things
Mhm.
a lot easier
Yeah.
because Sam's like into it. Like, he like, oh, I know this shoe. This, like, he
Yeah.
can know
He's
it.
like, he's like, I know shoes, but, this is the same kid that ever since he was little, we used to joke because he was always using assumptive language to close us
Oh
on
man.
things like,
And
so
which child order is this?
second, youngest
Okay.
child,
Hmm.
he would always use like, so, what time are we going to laser tag? As if we had already made plans to go to laser tag, right?
Mhm.
He's always been
That's
like
funny.
closing, right? And so it's just kind of funny now to see that actually.
So I want to put you on the
working.
spot, Jen. One or two things that you think are things that we should be seeing as predictable questions or objections that you feel like in your interaction with online salespeople and teams we're still somewhat underprepared to answer with confidence and succinctly.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely the pricing situation.
Yeah.
Like,
The one single talking point of it's just lumber, stupid, kind of like, look at lumber, that doesn't work anymore.
Right. So we've got to make sure that, if it's an objection, right, of, oh my gosh, like that's astronomical. I was just on your website 3 months ago and the price was this and now it's this, right? The best way to combat that is be agreeable. It's like you disarm them with, oh, I know it's crazy, right? It is. It's nothing like we've ever seen before. But here, let's talk about the reasons why. And I think, talking about the difference in, resale market, used homes right now and how that relates to new homes and, just talking through some of that, but making sure that you have that dialogue. And then of course if it's a condition, like I said, that's, you're not overcoming that, but you're kind of asking about that.
I think the existing and new is a really key point because there's usually a typical separation point between them. And so it's not like new homes are astronomically more than existing. Everything has gone up, which shows that your builder isn't a greedy bastard, so to speak.
Exactly.
That there are real reasons for how the market is acting. And then the other one that I heard from Ivy Zellman that we've talked a lot about on calls is really succinctly explaining that lower cost is one thing that a consumer could choose to wait to see if that happens. It probably won't. They could wait to see if it will happen. But if interest rates go up every quarter of a point that they go up, your mortgage payment increases. Your monthly payment that you actually pay out of pocket goes up by 3%. And so people are freaking out about 10 to 15% year over year appreciation in house cost. But if rates go up 1%, 12% adjustment in your monthly payment, as if the house had appreciated and rates had stayed low. And we're going to talk in the news section about some things that are coming down that might help some of that. But you also have to have reasons why waiting is still not a good idea. And not just to sell people, but to truly explain it's probably not a really good idea.
Yeah,
exactly.
Trying to time the market. I feel like that's like, I think everyone has this belief they could time the market with any type of investment, your home, a stock, cryptocurrency. Like,
and if you have a home to sell and you got to wait for your home to be built, that's now incredibly hard. Because do you want to have to sell your home in the same market that causes the new construction price to drop?
Yeah,
probably not.
Probably not.
All right, that was a good one. Thanks, Jen.
Story.
Andrew.
I'll try to be quick with mine. And this one, we forget about this all the time. So I joined another gym. It's great. This is like my pastime is like just rotating gyms where I'm at, which is great because there's so many of them down this way. But I was talking to someone. He's like, "Hey, what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm in real estate, do marketing with builders and developers." "Oh, cool. Well, I got this thing." And then we were talking about the different areas we live. He's like, "I've never been that way." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, it's like 5 minutes up the road from here. He's like, "Well, I live down here and we go to these beaches." I'm like, "I've never been to those beaches." And for me, that's 5 minutes the other direction. It just made me think, I know everywhere's different, but where I'm at, like, if you live here, these are the restaurants you go to. These are the grocery stores you shop at. This is the area you stay in, even though 5 minutes north of that, like, it's all connected. Like, it's really dense where I'm located. But it made me think, just in marketing, I think we sometimes overlook and assume that, like, oh yeah, everyone knows this area. Like, of course they do. Like, for me, I was talking to him. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, where do you go to get coffee?" Whatever. I'm like, "We don't have anything except Starbucks where I'm at." He's like, "Really?" He's like, "I have none of those." I'm like, "I have like 5 Starbucks within 3 to 5 minutes." He's like, "Oh, interesting."
Well,
this made me think, like, you are correct.
You are
correct. Like, we just forget about that.
You're
so
100%
often.
right. What if that person had hired you as marketer and said, "Could you please write some copy about my community for the website?" How hard, like, you would do whatever you Googled or what you knew by association, never having really spent much time there. But I'll never forget at Heartland, there was a graphic designer who worked there before Jackie Askews came on the scene, who's now part of the DoConvert team. And she had worked at the company for like 3 years and 1 year with me before we had a conversation. She's like, "I've never been in one of our homes." And I was like, "What? We're going out like right now. We're going to go walk through some homes and check it out." Because if you are not spending time in the field as a marketer, as an online salesperson, and you don't know those other areas, then one of the predictable objections could be, "Well, that's really far out there. There's nothing around here." And if you don't know, you might have to kind of like subconsciously agree, even if as a salesperson you're trying to disagree and say why, but you got to get out there and spend time.
I don't know where the heck that is.
I don't know where it is. It's terrible. It's
yeah,
terrible.
I think there's a Target somewhere, like within 15 minutes.
Go live out there for the day if you're able to, or wherever you are. That's what I would do.
So, there is so much power in putting your eyes on the homes and the communities that you are selling. I mean, that you're talking about. I mean, gosh.
I don't think he's able to come this year, but Andy Gottsman from MI Homes, I think, freaked everyone out when he came to the summit and talked on a panel 3 years ago, maybe. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm the online salesperson for Columbus, Ohio. And I walk through every home under construction and take pictures, and I do drone shots, and I can do my job on the road just fine because I've actually been in every single one of those homes. And I've walked them myself.
Every floor plan." So like, I remember talking to him about it, and it's like, so he knows every little weird detail about the floor plan where you're like, "Oh yeah, there's this really cool feature, blah, blah, blah." And because he's taken, 50 photos.
Knowledge equals competence and being able to have those conversations.
Yeah, episode 41, for those of you who want to go back in the archives, was when we interviewed him and talked about that in a little bit more detail as well.
I love Andy. Shout out.
Oh my gosh, Jeff Shore. First comment of the day. By the way, because the technology we're using, we can't see all of your comments necessarily in real time because, again, we're going all over the globe: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything. But we will have certain comments pulled out for us by those behind the scenes. And then after we're done with the actual episode, we'll stick around and kind of relax and hang out and go back through any comments that we missed. So Jeff Shore was just saying, I've talked to sales managers who are guilty of the same thing. I hope you don't mean not walking through a plan or a community.
Yeah, which thing?
Actually, you know what? That's true. We had a division in Morgantown, which was about an hour and a half drive. And there were certainly people in the company who, again, years after were like, "Oh yeah, is it different down there?" Yeah, it's another state called West Virginia. It's not Pennsylvania.
You need to go.
It's different. They have pepperoni rolls at all the gas stations there.
I don't even know.
Totally unique.
I need to try that.
Yep. All right. So a little extra bonus again for those of you watching. It won't be very long, but if you're watching live, I did a Matterport. Actually, I had Andy go and do a Matterport of our house that is being built. This is my office area.
And then the house looks amazing too, by the way. I love
thank you.
I saw the
yeah. There's Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, video. Which no one does, and so I kind of don't like to talk about it because it's fun to talk about things there that I don't, But
ruined it.
This will be where I'll sit and do actual work in this half of the office, and we've got a bathroom, closet, and then this will be a full-on, basically video studio. And the reason I had Andy do this, and if you ever build a house, this is just a tip for you, if not a builder. Now I know where every wire and every piece of plumbing and every stud is later. I'm a control freak when it comes to houses. Like there's one switch in this house we're in now. I've lived here for almost 6 years. I don't know what it does, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's switching some outlet somewhere, but I don't know. So I know where everything is. If there's any type of renovation I'm going to do, or something has to be repaired, I know where everything's at. So this is the studio. I've got electrical outlets in the ceiling to run lights. We'll have a couple different backdrops, and my plan is to have a mobile, basically setup where I can move it on wheels to film in whatever direction with separate audio. It's going to be cool. It's going to be a blast. So if you have any suggestions of what you would do if you built a studio, maybe you know someone, send them my way. Happy to pay a freelancer to look at my Matterport tour and give me some advice, because we did our pre-drywall walkthrough today, which is the other part of my story time segment. And I still have the jitters from doing like a 2.5 hour pre-drywall walkthrough with my wife about final locations of everything and what needs to go where.
It's getting soon. Like a few months out.
But I have an important update, because people have also asked me this over the last couple months. They've said, is the front door in yet? And the Acorn front door from Therma-Tru has been sort of installed. We still don't know what it fully looks like, because construction time's lengthened, and because of the cost of the door, they send out the frame that has the color, stain, and grain of the door. But the actual doors are just temp wood doors that they'll replace in like the last couple weeks during construction. So we can confirm it does look as the influencer on Instagram pictures described. Nice. So so far, this is the end of the front door saga.
Beautiful frame.
Mel is happy.
Yes, and trust me, she's gonna, when the door goes in, she will take pictures in HD and 4K and Matterports, and we will send them to Therma-Tru, because I think they still just have like one.
Maybe she could dress up like an influencer, like the big hat and everything.
Don't encourage that behavior. Don't encourage that behavior. All right, on to the news. Oh, see, live. On to the news. Still have to do the sound effects. It's a must do. Up first, the Market Proof Marketing Awards. So
excited.
I'm glad you're here, Jen, because we'll have you talk about the categories that are going on with the online sales end of things. But I want to highlight one thing on the website here that's really important for people to know, is that Andrew has actually done a walkthrough video answering common questions about the tool that we're using to take all the submissions in. And the tool is really just to keep you organized and get minimum pieces, but don't sweat. And, one of the things that's interesting, this could be kind of a little jab at our industry, is that we use the term, and this may be bad marketing on my end, saying these are data-driven awards. Well, I have learned that you all are freaked out about the idea of knowing your data or sharing your data, and especially, which I take this personally, scared about sharing your data with me. So let me put this to rest. I'm not judging the awards. Andrew's not judging the awards. No,
there's some great judges on there. You can see.
We have separate judges, but this is a walkthrough of all the tool. And when in doubt, fill out what you know. And if we need more information from you after the submission process is complete, which they're due when, Andrew?
July 9th.
July 9th.
Friday. So 8 days.
Next Friday. If we need something, we'll circle back around to you. See how I worked that in there? We are recording on Zoom, so you have to say circle back around at least once. We'll circle back around to you and ask you for more information if we need it. Someone else also said, hey, someone asked a question. I'm going to pull the judges up here real quick, and then I'll turn the screen share off. Someone said, hey, there's a little piece at the bottom that talks about giving us the ability to talk about the entry. That's for when you win. or if you do something that, we have you on the podcast and we want to talk about it. But in terms of those fields that are in the submission form, someone, not going to say who, was like, part of what I want to talk about is how my sales team doesn't really listen and doesn't want to change. And this worked. Are you going to share that comment publicly with anyone? No, none of that stuff is getting out. The goal is always for you guys to look good and, again, learn and share. But if you want to tell that story later on the podcast as a guest, that's on you. But otherwise, one other quick one that I get has gotten a lot of questions to me, and then I'll let Andrew and Jen jump in on the categories. And other frequently asked questions is, I just don't know if what I'm doing is good enough, or a category seems like it might be a gray area for me. What do I do? When in doubt, submit something that you're proud of. So part of it is just the process of submitting. Just like for me, the process of writing on a topic is helpful. I've written a lot of things that I've never published, but it helps me get thoughts built in my mind the right way, so that then when I'm on a call, like again, a predictable question or objection or something comes up, I've already thought through that topic in my mind. And some of these questions might just help you learn something about, a weak spot or a potential opportunity, or maybe something that you're doing well that you're not giving yourself full credit for. So when in doubt, enter something that you're proud of, and don't sweat the small stuff. We will circle back around if we need more data from you if something's missing. And then the entry fee is $50.
$50, guys.
$50. So you're not,
go for it.
No harm, no foul. Go for it.
Yeah.
And here's what I know is going to happen, because this happens with every award show ever. And we are going to have Lisa Parrish on a future podcast episode to talk about the nationals and that process. There's always haters with every awards results. Like, oh, I don't think that was worth it. We did something way cooler. Well, you didn't enter, did you? Most of the time. So I think it's important. You're never going to know if you don't try. It's $50. It's going to charity. And so give it a shot. And you guys want to add anything else here before we move on?
Yeah, jumping in real quick. If there's any questions on it, feel free to message me. My email is all over the thing. Like, send it in. Super quick to respond. So I'll get those questions answered. But then, just piggybacking on what Kevin said, like, if you're proud of something, submit it. If you feel like it doesn't necessarily fit the category correctly, that's okay. Like, we'll figure it out on our end. And I don't know, if we have a bunch of entries for something that we seem to have like an oversight on, we might just make an extra category. Who knows? Like, we'll find out.
Yep.
And I just want to chime in and say, going back to what Kevin was saying, as far as data-driven, awards, right? Speaking specifically for online sales, just want to talk about those categories, because they're not really necessarily data-driven awards. So sometimes the perception is, well, my numbers aren't necessarily maybe good enough, right. Or, like, oh,
my lead volume isn't, my conference metrics aren't up to par with what I hear other people talk about. Exactly.
So
like video email superstar, we're not asking for 100% open rate.
Right.
What we want to see is, are you doing something creative that you're actually using, that you didn't just send out, to one person one time?
Right.
Exactly.
So I don't want you to get hung up on that, thinking about that. So if you've done something cool with video email, anything, right, submit. If you have had some sort of pre-sale process, right, priority list,
which everyone's changed and adapted because of the pandemic. It's going to be amazing to see those.
That's all I hear about is, what we're doing with our priority list and things like that. So everybody's got something they can talk about there, right? And then you started a new program, or again, you feel like you've done something that has worked well, that you're excited about, submit it.
The one thing I forgot to mention to your point about whatever you're proud of is there will be winners. Okay, this is not a participation awards program, so there will be winners. But there will also be people who don't win, who we will feature you and what you're doing on the podcast, potentially in other places. There's been other publications actually who have said, hey, can we help highlight cool things that people are doing based upon the submissions that you're getting? So even if you don't win, someone else might beat you out because of the number of entries we get. That's okay. If you're still doing something that we feel like other people can learn from, we're going to want to talk to you. And this is the only self-hyping thing I will say. We probably get 3 people a week who reached out to us who want to be on the program to promote a product, service, idea, or just be famous. I don't know what, I mean, hate to tell you, you're not going to be famous by getting on the show.
Builder show.
That's
famous.
my laugh.
Yeah. Or run ads or whatever. And we say no to almost all of the ones that seem self-serving. This is a chance for you to do something good for charity, to get the feedback from the judges, which everyone will still get feedback. So you will get your own score even if you don't win in comparison to where you were in other places. And then you're potentially still going to be able to hang out and talk to us more about what you're doing.
And it's good practice to talk about what you've done and put it in writing, like Kevin was saying.
That's right. That's right.
And for those of you with extremely high standards, which produce amazing whatever it would be, submit your things. Even though, like, you will always, at least for me, I find fault in everything that I'm working on. I'm like, oh, I could have improved that. Even though it was probably perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, just submit it. Like, even though you have this perfect expectation that you'll not ever meet, send it in.
All right. So quick pause here to browse through some comments. We've got Eric from Tilson Homes trying to trigger us. Hi, guys and Jen. I'm a huge fan of the show and love you guys. Long time, first time. Anyway, planning a 3-pronged attack with my team using billboard, TV, and pedicab ads. What % of each do you recommend? Thanks.
Eric.
He's saying get Kevin going.
Always count on Eric for some poking.
We may not actually get to news stories because some of these just prompt me to want to say other things.
That's funny.
Jen and I were talking about this pre-show as well. What I'm not worried about is the market ever shifting and getting harder. That excites I'm excited about that because 2008 to 2012 was my favorite time in my career, the most exciting, where I learned and grew the most. And we won. We grew as a builder 20% in a down market every year, and then we're acquired by a national home building company. It was a fantastic time in my life. And so that part doesn't scare me. What scares me is the irrational psychological things that people will do when things get hard out of gut reaction. I've said this before on different webinars, but there used to be this thing called a newspaper, full page, full color ad, 12 to 15 grand every Sunday. And then when the market got tough, you know what everyone did for the first 6 months?
30.
Two full color, full page ads. Let's just do more of that. And so what I'm really worried about is people who haven't been through a tough market, because that was 13 years ago. The Great Recession was a long time ago. People who haven't been through a tough market doing things like you're talking about, Eric, because they're just so desperate. I don't think we talked about this last time, but one of our builders had an inventory home it's an expensive townhome, okay, expensive, but the price was reduced by $50,000 recently, despite the fact that in the CRM we can see that there's twice as many leads this year in the same time period as last year. And there's enough that eventually there's pretty good confidence this thing is going to sell. But the psychology is just, oh, it didn't sell in 2 days. It didn't sell in a week. Well, get rid of this sucker because, and that's the stuff that makes me nervous. So thanks for triggering me there, Eric. Ashley DeYoung says she also did a walkthrough of her house, but she wished she would have done a Matterport. Bobby, pictures, but do a Matterport. Podcast famous Mike. Exactly. So, all right, moving on to our next article. Speaking of the Mr. Mike Lyon, the goat of online sales. Yes. He wrote an article called Hiring, Training, and Managing Remote Salespeople that you can find on a website called doyouconvert.com. It is based off of an amazing discussion that he had with the one and only Jeff Shore. But Jen, you want to give just a couple little your favorite key takeaways from this piece?
I love this. I love this article so much that Mike wrote because a few things, stand out here. Managing somebody remotely has to be completely different. We have to have, more check-ins. First, let me go back and say, when we're talking about hiring for this position, right? We have to be looking for somebody who can work remotely, who is, proactive, who doesn't need, who works well in that kind of environment that's not like structured in the office type of thing. And so that's the first thing I just want to say. We've actually been doing a lot of hiring lately and have seen that it's harder right now. People are coming into the market, into this role with different expectations. Like, oh, I can just be in my pajamas, working from home, sitting on my couch with my feet propped up and managing leads and phone calls sometimes. No, that is not what this position is.
It's not a lifestyle job.
Not a lifestyle job, right? Not a flex. It's an on-demand job, right? So that's been a little bit interesting. People kind of coming into this role this last year. So as managers, right, we have to make sure we have systems and processes in place for managing this person, having set meetings, being able to see their work environment. So requiring Zoom calls where you can kind of take a picture of your office setup, making sure that all of those things are in place and professional. Also looking beyond the numbers, right? Looking at, if we just stick to the numbers, we talk about this all the time, we're going to miss out on really exactly what's going on in behaviors.
Especially the end result numbers, like the ones that people naturally gravitate towards, like total number of sales. Oh, everything's good. We're up. Yeah. Sales are up.
We're totally fine. I today, like speaking what you were talking about, Kevin, as far as, this market is completely different than it was. It's a different kind of hard than it was back in 2008. And, like you were speaking of 2012. So it's a different kind of hard. We have to manage this role differently than we did before. People are still dealing with their perception of what burnout is right now. Everybody's perception of what burnout is different. And I'm not saying that you're not burnout, right?
No, it's reality.
Right. It's reality, right?
This is their reality.
We have to dig deep and figure out, okay, let's look at what it is that you feel is causing your burnout. We can either try to fix it. We can try to provide more bandwidth. We can try to streamline your processes or, take a look at what you're doing. But ultimately, we've got to be asking the questions. We've got to be listening to calls. We've got to be looking beyond the numbers to kind of determine those things.
Yep. The analogy, I don't know. Well, again, we'll play my analogy here for those of you who are live. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being amazing, 10 pancakes, 1 pancake, meaning it might as well be a waffle. The analogy is, if you're like, we have 4 kids, as we say, just enough at the Oakley household. And if I'm sitting in my family room with those 4 kids, interacting with them, watching them, playing, whatever, after a while, I get stressed and tired because I'm an introvert and I need time by myself, right? So I'm stressed. To Jen's point, the stress is real. The burnout is real. I need a break from my kids. However, if my 6-year-old Mason were to go walk out in the street and start to play in the street, different level of stress, right? Because the impending doom. So that's, again, the fear is this is stressful. You do have to find ways to get margin. You do have to self-care, and all those things are true while still getting the work done, which might mean talking to your managers, fixing processes, getting better systems. Right. There's lots of ways that you can attack that versus just working harder. We're not big fans of the hustle culture mentality here. And yet that stress done at a time when the market's doing this and home sales are doing this, and the CFO says we better sell 10 homes this month or else, that's going to be a whole different level of stress. So 1 to 10 pancakes, go ahead and rate that analogy.
Oh, guys, this has been the hardest year. Like last year was hard, but like this year has been so hard, for everybody, but, obviously I'm in the online sales world, and it's a struggle bus for, and Mike and I are going to talk about this on Facebook Live this month, but just what we're hearing so much is, how do I provide certainty to our customers when there's so much uncertainty? Like, I don't know, like,
Yep.
I don't.
And that's the other reason
Yep.
I'm excited about a return to a harder market is we'll have more control.
Right.
The saying is focus on what you can control. Just right now, you got like one thing you can control, which is your own mental attitude. And the rest of your commodity prices, who's showing up to work today, what's the price of the home, is my website functioning,
And that's I think we're starting to see. We had burnout. We had burnout last year because of the sheer volume, right? And feeling out of control of the amount of leads and things like that, right? This year, I think we're having burnout in a different way of the uncertainty and not knowing. That's the definition of burnout, right? Is not feeling like you're in control, right? Being overwhelmed and not feeling like you have control over a situation. So, that is creeping back in a different way. And so how do we, as, going back to Mike's article, and like, how do we look at that from a management perspective? We've got to be asking questions. We've got to be listening to calls. We've got to be looking at the missed call answer rates. We've got to be looking at correspondence in the CRM that's going out and all of those kind of detailed things. So
I think my favorite takeaway, and then we'll move on to the next article, was that having the system, the CRM, the whatever, the digitized system that shows the micro movements and the micro steps in any process. And people want to rail all the time. There is no funnel. There is no critical sales. You got to be adaptive. That's true. People will move around in the funnel. It's not like gravity will only let them go down. But there has to be a framework, because in a remote way, I can't wonder, at 8:00 at night if Andrew got something done and be like, hey, Andrew, can you hop on the call for 10 minutes and let's talk about that. If we're working any sort of asynchronized way, we have to have other ways to check in and make sure things are being done. And that's just part of being a good team player. So if you're a salesperson or an online salesperson, you're like, I got my book. I mean, I'm working from home now. And so I got my book and I've got my notes. That doesn't work for the rest of the team that you're playing with. We don't have a shared playbook to work off of.
Right.
It's too hard when you're remote to ignore that.
Yep.
All right. Up next in the news from housingwire.com, Ginnie Mae unveils 40-year mortgage terms for issuers. This new pool type will allow borrowers to make lower monthly payments, but can still be sold on the secondary market as a security. And what's super interesting about this is the speed of it. Their goal is to have this be out to market by October.
That was my question.
I thought that was
will these start?
Quick.
Well, so there's still some regulation hurdles that have to be approved by the Federal Housing Agency, although it appears the Biden administration and everyone in government is all about this. This also goes into, like, do you think house prices are going to decline as lumber prices decline, when all these other things are going to relieve some of the pressure?
Push it up.
That would, right. So there's still some regulations. This isn't a done deal, but the fact that they're talking about it being through initial approval by October is interesting. And the other thing is there will be, I'm reading directly from the article, there will be no loan amount restriction. So
that's good.
That's amazing / terrifying. This is kind of like build for rent, single family build for rent. I love it. And I'm also slightly terrified of unintended consequences.
Like, I got excited for a second and then I was like, what does that mean?
Brings up a lot of questions.
Well, Andrew
isn't all over the place.
Andrew, you Gen Z officially, millennial? And I don't even really care what those things are. So
89. I'm millennial.
Mad at myself that I said it.
I'm Gen X.
I go by, I think it's more accurate to go by what game system did you play on when you
right?
And what phone
Atari 2600 for a hot minute, and then the NES.
So my life was mostly Nintendo 64 and then into Xbox. So like mind. Halo, first person Halo. But I did not have a smartphone in high school. That was college.
Yep.
So if that
So I just wonder if this group of people who traditionally has been saying, I'm not as interested in housing to begin with, like I want to rent, I want to have flexibility in my life. And then you're saying, well, we're going to make this a more affordable opportunity for you, but you're going to take 40 years to pay it off. Like the APR on this thing, I was talking with Brian McCarthy from Abrazo right before this. The APR is going to be scary. And also, if you look at car programs, there used to be, I think anyway, when I was younger, there like 3-year loans was like the max. Then there were 4 and 5, and now I think you can get a 7-year loan on a car.
7, yeah.
It does make it more affordable, but it's like 5 to 10% more affordable when you push it out. The costs and the fees associated, it's not like this amazing, my house is now 1/3 of the payment of a 30-year. Or
I think some people might just have the attitude, whether it's financially makes sense or not, but just like, I'm never going to pay anything off ever. Just make it fit monthly. Cool. This is fine.
I think that's what I
interesting.
think. I think that they will look at this like, oh, lower payment, that's immediate. Like that feels good immediately. And I don't really, who knows what I'm going to be doing 40 years.
Okay.
Like who cares?
I'll sell it.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, like I'll sell it and whatever. Like,
it'd be interesting how they do the interest on this.
They're not thinking that long term. Like they're thinking short term.
Yep.
And this, I can afford this.
So this is a way to short term, pay less every month, still have some upside and participate when you sell the home. Right. You could still have equity in the process, but you're not as concerned about the equity that you're building along the way because
it's like too long term to think
or maybe
about.
You put in,
I like that.
Another thought, like you can get this home, you put in whatever percent down, and that's kind of like your deposit for this home ownership thing that in your mind is like, I'm not intending to ever own the home ever. I'm just going to put in, I'll just make it 50,000 into this $500,000 home. In 5 years when I move, I could take that 50,000 out, sort of, and then put it, maybe now it's 60,000 or 70, whatever it may be. So maybe in 40 years, maybe then they'll have enough equity. Who knows what, I don't know what homes will be in 40 years. That sounds awful to think about.
Real quick before we go on to the next article too, Eric says, vaccine for burnout is a cocktail of time management and proper expectation setting and management mixed with healthy accountability. Ooh. So a cocktail of time management, proper expectation setting, and management. So I mean, if you have a bad manager, if you got burnout and a really bad manager, you should find a different job because it's not going to get better.
Where people stress is when they don't know what is expected of them. And
exactly, the uncertainty, like, and they don't feel like, Very good, Eric.
Man.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, next up from Wired.com, Zillow taps AI to improve its home value estimates. By employing a neural network, the company says its numbers will be more accurate and allow it to offer to buy more homes. So lots of things going on here. Neural network, Andrew, I think, can have a little science segment on briefly describing the differences to their old program. Yes, Jan, I see that hand.
Can I just say that I had to Google neural network because I was like,
there's a great video you should watch on YouTube. I'll send it to you.
Hey, sales side over here. I was like, neural network, like what the heck is that? So I'm like,
that's Skynet that's coming for OSCs. You've heard that fairy tale, right? But one of the things is that now they're going to update home prices potentially several times a day versus, originally I think when the estimate first came out, it was like every year or something, and then it was every quarter, every month, weeks. Now it's a couple times a day. And then never forget that right now, anyway, the big focus from Zillow is making Zestimates a standing offer to purchase your home. So there's 2 reasons why they want this to be more accurate. There's more than 2, but 2 really big ones. One is to get all the haters who say that it's always widely inaccurate to just have more accuracy, which will cause more consumers to want to use it as a source of truth about the value of their home or potential value. And then the other is that's the gateway drug to now be able to we could just sell it with a click. But Andrew, you want to have a little 30-second science explanation
super quick
neural
on
network?
Neural networks. You put in a boatload of data. The system does all this magical stuff and it learns based on all these variables, and then it has the outcome, and you say if it's true or not. So you take home listed price, all this information on the home, square foot, pictures, because they have computer vision, which can read a picture, granite countertops, 42-inch cabinets, all these sorts of things. And then you tell it the answer at the end. But it's trying to predict or forecast the answer in this in-between process. And then it learns like, ooh, I did this wrong. And then it kind of goes backwards and it adjusts and it changes the weight on certain things. So like maybe 42-inch cabinets don't mean anything. Maybe it does. And so then they try to figure out like what is important in predicting the actual selling price.
Hmm.
So imagine it takes every transaction of the past 10 years in the United States, puts it in there. 4 months later or a month later, whatever, it finishes. I don't know how long it takes. It varies. And then that's now this new base set of data it has, and then it keeps learning from there.
So this
I
is
don't know
supposed to
what
make us
genius
all
is.
feel more confident.
And to me, I feel confident with that. Like that makes more sense than, but it still goes down to, I think where people give this estimate a hard time is like, well, that single home sold for 20,000 more. And it's like, okay, but like that single home had someone came from California and their house burnt down in a terrible fire and they had to move to Florida because their grandmother broke their hip and they had to move to that exact home. You can't predict anything like that. That's not a variable in there. But they're trying to do the like recency, I think is a big thing they're trying to change, is like the demand right now is crazy and people are going over ask.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's reading all of these things like you're saying, right? But it's not taken into effect the market, certain pockets, certain specific.
Well, that's why it has to
Mm-hmm.
update so fast and more frequently.
Okay.
Is
Tampa
like we
was
talk about
adjusted a lot. It looks like
Mhm.
it was like Phoenix, Tampa, two cities in Texas had the biggest adjustments.
Yeah.
I saw my estimate bouncing around. I'm like, ooh, this is exciting. Like, what's up with it? Like,
we
that
talk
sounds
about
good
the
to
same
me.
thing in Google Analytics. Year over year is the best way to compare a time period, except for when there's rapid change. Rapid up or rapid down, you better be comparing to the previous time period as well, not just year over year,
Mhm.
because it just moves too quick and you can miss too many things. I will say it's
Mhm.
interesting
It's very
in
cool.
preparation to sell the home I'm in right now. I upgraded. We went from the 20 pictures the previous owner had to 98 pictures that I took,
It's a few pictures.
and probably totally uncorrelated, but it went. The price went up over the next month by $30,000.
I think it should. I think it's correlated because taking into account computer vision, there's like, you could, with your Zillow listing, like your saved home, your home,
Yeah.
you could say like, I'd update it earlier after I read the article, like, oh, I have a hot tub now. Let's click the checkbox in there. But we know there's plenty of other things that we can't do a checkbox on. So I think I read your pictures and it's like, oh, you have this, or maybe it could analyze how big your island is in your kitchen. And if it's over a certain size, like that means your home is
It's so
whatever.
crazy.
Or if it's a
That is
little island,
so crazy that it
creepy,
can do that. Like that's blows my mind.
very smart.
Yeah, and my wife is always a good like market research tool. I mean, all spouses and people you spend a lot of time with, you should be observing their behavior if you're in marketing or sales at all times. But she's amazed by computer vision in a different way. She's like, Kevin, there's this app. You can take a picture of any plant or tree,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that.
and it tells you what it is and if it's healthy or not, and tells you
Yeah.
what's wrong with it. And I was like, computer vision, Mel, like that's, I'm not the fun one to tell those things to. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It's like,
It
well,
smells
you know
like
everything, don't you? You're like,
Smells like me. I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
All right. We're going to flash an article up on the screen. The link will be in the show notes, but we don't have time to talk about it. Sorry. CognitiveSEO.com wrote a really great article about why SEO does not work for you and your website, the things that you're probably doing wrong. And I'm just going to read off the list here really good. It's a long, lengthy article, but we just talked in our bonus time class for the summer academy of 17 marketers about SEO and website structure and how all these things work and some of the misconceptions. And this article just does a really good job of, if you feel like SEO hasn't been something you needed to focus on or ever saw benefit from, these are the 15 ways you're probably just doing it wrong, or the person that you're partnered with is doing it wrong. And it's really good, informative, kind of fun read.
yeah, good.
Last up, from NASDAQ.com.
Of all places.
We probably actually found it on another site who just wants us to pay for a subscription. And so then you search for the same headline and find someone who doesn't. I don't think anyone on our team reads NASDAQ closely. Facebook testing desktop posting and sharing for Instagram. So
Finally.
Big deal. Don't really care.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
But there's tools that I think a lot of people who do post frequently or would post from their desktop would already have in place.
So you don't have to have a third-party tool. I find, it's probably because I'm sharing my screen a lot with builders around the country, but it's very handy to be able to show content from Instagram on a desktop. And so I think at the end of the day, we didn't talk about this as a news story, but Facebook sent an alert saying that, hey, collection ads, which is our favorite ad format currently, although we're testing some other things that have shocking, truly shocking results. Still blows my mind, but collection ads are amazing. And on Facebook, there's 4 little boxes at the bottom in the preview. On Instagram, there's 3, and they said basically, hey, Facebook is going to go with 3. And it's going to be a square format. And so everything is just, it's combining. And before they had a reason why things were different. Now all of Facebook's tools share the same backend structure and system. So there's really not much reason for things to behave different. And I think over time, it'll kind of be like GM brands for cars. Like, yeah, you'll have Instagram, but it's, we're going to remember when people used to riot against Facebook, but they love their Instagram account. I think collective consciousness now, everyone, even my grandma, my 102-year-old grandma probably understands that Instagram is owned by Facebook. So everybody knows we're in on the secret. Why not make it more similar?
Yeah.
Yeah, might as well. And I'm sure on the technical, like the engineering side, like if they could then reference a single picture, a single square picture, instead of like, oh, we have to have all these different formats for a picture because someone wanted to have different types for each placement. That's just much easier to manage, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. This week's question of the week, which we will post here shortly, is for community launches happening or scheduled to happen in the next, let's just say 3 months. Is your builder planning to offer pre-sale opportunities in that community? That sounds like a strange question to ask, but the majority of the builders we work with now, several months ago, started saying, hey, even in brand new communities, we're not going to sell anything at dirt. We're going to continue the process of building inventory homes, waiting to see our costs in when frame is started or complete, or potentially even just wait until they're finished. So I'm curious if that's just something we've subconsciously planted in the brains of the builders we work with, or if broader, that's something that you guys are seeing or having discussed. So we'll have a yes, maybe, and a no, we're going to continue to do it the old-fashioned way in the Facebook group. All right, guys. Oh, Jen, you got something else?
No, I just was saying I love that question. That I can't wait to see what the...
I'm curious to hear also, it's not going to be in the question, but how online salespeople all feel about that process change and what that means for...
You want me to tell you what I mean?
Yeah.
Do it. Let's hear it.
Do it live. Go.
Mixed reviews.
Okay.
Some are like, at least I know of certainty that I have something to sell, and it's, you know what I mean? It will be a specific price and it will be this deliverable, right? So there's some out there, but then there's some that are like, it just limits our opportunity. We have a huge interest list, but maybe we're only building, 5 homes, right? And so that makes it harder for us. We can't just open up lots, dirt for sale and things like that. So I'm hearing both kinds of things. I think it just depends on a lot of other factors too. Bandwidth. Are there other communities that are open where there's where they have other opportunities, or is this the only thing they have? Then that's going to kind of change their opinion about it.
It's so varied. What's really interesting is a builder in Colorado we talked to yesterday. They had a grand opening of a condo project, and they exceeded the sales goal for the grand opening by like 3 or 4 sales. But because they didn't sell out the entire project immediately, everyone kind of feels like they failed. I just keep coming back to the same, like, that's weird. And no wonder we're burnt out if that's kind of the collective feeling of the group.
Been running so hot,
It's been
running so hot
Black
for the
Friday,
last
Christmas sales.
There we go. Hey, there's the episode title.
Oh,
Running So Hot with Jen Barkan.
So
All right, guys, that'll do it for this week. For published articles, blog posts, videos, and more, check out doyouconvert.com. It's also the best way to connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and everywhere else we are online. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
All right, scene. Let me just peruse some comments here, and this won't go in the actual broadcast, but Dawn says, hey, that price change in the Zestman is due to the pictures, happens on every single one of my husband's listings. Interesting.
Nice.
Ben Keel. Hey, Ben. Live webinar, informational, watching through LinkedIn. Nice work.
Very cool.
Hey, Ben.
Donna, thank you. Enjoy the 4th of July weekend.
Andrew, what are you doing for 4th of July?
Oh, there. Yeah.
Ooh. My
What are
wife's
you doing
sister
in
is in
Florida?
town, and she hasn't been in town in a while because of COVID, and just she's from Ohio, so I think she landed like 2 or 3 hours ago. So I think we're hosting. I
Fun.
think we're hosting. I'll be doing some barbecues.
Very cool.
Are
Early in the
fireworks
morning.
legal in Tampa or where you are?
They are illegal, but it's not enforced. Like the beaches, you're like, what is going on? Fireworks are illegal, but you could. With us, it's nice. We're flat. There's no hills or anything, so you could look out like upstairs and look in every direction and kind of see different cities and whatnot.
People beware.
But
Put
be
your
safe.
animals up.
Oh, yeah.
Put
Oh,
your-
man. I got a story about that. I need your advice, Jen, on dog stuff here in a second.
Get
What are you
another
doing
one.
for the 4th of
That's
July
easier.
weekend?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
We're not having, but we're going to a party at my in-laws. And Sammy has a baseball tournament all weekend. So that's what we'll be doing.
Nice.
Busy.
I'm going to sell a used car tomorrow.
That sounds awful.
We're going to go down to one car as a family because why not? I mean, Mike Lyon sold his used vehicle, or a vehicle that he bought new, I think, a year ago, and made like $6,000 on this used
Are you
car.
selling it like privately or to?
You'll have to talk to. He'll talk about it when he comes on.
I can't remember,
But
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Like, especially, I've heard trucks like are insane. Like those are.
Used cars are outrageous.
my 2009 Honda Pilot just needs to go, and I drive like 10 miles a week anyway. Church, the grocery store, soccer practice, whatever. That's it. And so I'm going to sell a car, and then I'm going to my brother's lake house, and then a developer / builder is just driving through town on Monday the 5th, and he's like, "Hey, you want to just look at some product and hang out?" So my family doesn't even know it yet, but I'm going to sneak out early in the morning, grab coffee, talk shop, and then get back for the rest of the day.
It's early morning. You can do whatever you
fine.
want.
If I go missing, my family did not appreciate that, but that's the plan.
Nice.
Okay, what's
Fun
your
time.
dog? What's your dog?
Okay, yeah.
situation?
So we've had storms here. We have a golden retriever. Her name's Gracie Zillow Oakley. Zillow's the stage name / middle name. If you ever see that, she does have an Instagram account. But she gets so scared that she is like sitting on the edge of the bed. She can't hop up because the bed's too high, but she just does this at like 2 a.m. So you think we would know better with 4 kids, but we don't. So Melanie, sleepily just pushes her up onto the bed, and she won't chill out. So
like panting and like
she just stands up and paces. And I
standing by
tried
your
covering her head with a pillow. Normally she likes to hide her muzzle in something and just kind of hang out. But Melanie had to leave. She was up for like an hour. I fall asleep instantly and again anyway, so it didn't bother me. But what is the best thing, just to put them in a interior closet or some, like, how do we make this dog feel safe without medicating her?
Well, you could she probably wants to be with you. So I don't know about, you could try the interior closet, I don't know, but you could put a thunder shirt on her.
What is that?
So a thunder shirt is
Googling
it's
this right now.
a compression shirt.
Okay, so it's like a weighted blanket for a dog.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay,
so it makes them feel like.
I see it.
This is now confirmation that my dog lives with the Oakleys. I was telling Mike this, but we had to start putting her on Prozac because she's chewing her paws.
Oh my
and the doctor's like, her head just has a lot of things going up here, and she like circles and is OCD. And Mike is like, nature or nurture, Kevin? What's the issue here with your dog? So now we're talking about weighted blanket for the dog at the same time. I feel like we know Gracie at this point. We know
They're on Amazon. Might be able to get one today.
Yeah. Thunder shirt.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that also, there are like CBD treats, that do help them, relax. Like if you know that there's gonna be storms happening, you could give her, CBD oil, CBD. I'm just telling you that. But you can get them at the vet. They're like mainstream things that you can do.
Oh no! Wait a minute. This is not happening. Church and state are mixing. My wife is commenting on our stream.
No.
It's
my wife on there now.
Thank you, Jackie, for the Melanie says she's just trying to comfort her. And she does go to Melanie's side of the bed for clarification because she knows I'm not budging.
She wants
and
to
I
be
can't
with
sell. We're not going to go down one car forever, honey. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. Golf
Gonna
cart.
sell
I
the
mean,
used car and get another car.
and for the new house, I feel like you need a fun vehicle that can go off road. That will be Kevin's new car.
Well, so that's, I
Gator,
think,
6x6,
and again,
whatever
for
it is.
people like, I don't understand the topic of this
Is
is
anybody even
marketing
still
live.
watching us? Is
No, they're
anybody
still here. There's across everything still about 40 people watching on
Oh,
YouTube,
gosh.
No
like,
pressure.
whatever. But we're no longer talking about market-proof marketing. This is just us doing what we do after the show is over. The plan is to get a car that then my daughters will drive. So my oldest will be 15 soon.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I really think electric vehicles, like I want one, but I don't want to pay a premium or wait forever to get another car. So
That new Ford Lightning is pretty cool looking.
yes,
Good
that
truck.
is pretty cool.
Hey,
Power your
with,
house.
with the Mister on his bike, his
Oh yeah,
MC
motorcycle gang. Yeah.
now, right? Like I'm like why do we need two cars? Like you can, if you need to go somewhere, go get on your Harley.
Go get on a bicycle. That's it.
Dawn says she's still waiting for the train wreck that was promised at the beginning of the live stream. So someone has to not really hurt themselves, but have something fall on them.
Hey,
or...
if Eric is still watching, he can attest to this. One time on a leadership call, I literally fell off of my bouncy ball that I was sitting on, fell onto the floor in the middle of this call. My headphones pop out. It was quite embarrassing. I wanted to
Did the bouncy ball go away after this? I feel like I'd be like, I'm done with this. I'd pop it.
Oh, that thing, I took that thing and like freaking threw it. Yeah. I was like, okay, so much for my core workout. I was trying to sit on this bouncy ball, like work my core while
like
I was
an infomercial.
Yeah, no, it flew out and it was a disaster. So yeah.
Oh man.
Jackie Lipinski, we're going to wrap this up here, but Jackie, we got to figure out how to prevent family members from watching streams from now on. I'm just kidding.
Block them from the page.
And nobody got my pool. There might be poolside because I was taking what Kevin said about swim up bar, drinks, and I was like, oh, we might be poolside, but.
Well, hey, the next live episode will be recorded in Dallas at the Online Sales and Marketing Summit.
49 days.
Where there will be drink tickets. No swim up bar, but there will be drink tickets.
Yeah, exactly.
Drink ticket police. Who's in charge?
Not it.
Jen.
All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next week.
See y'all.
See ya.
Bye.